Hello, hello, hello. It's me again. Just a conversation, wherever I can get a conversation. Whoever wants to come on and have a conversation. Hi. Hi, Peter. How are you? I knew it took me a while, but I had to just be patient until it would save. So, you just go with the flow, and then it finally saved. So I got that all saved. So if you want to see the beginning of that other video, it's there for you. Um, you know, and if you want to come on, go ahead and hit the invite button and I'll let you in. And I'm not sure if Casey is going to come back. Let's see. Hold on. I invited her. I invited her back, but I'm not sure. So what's your evening like? What are you doing tonight? Are you in? Are you drawing or, I mean, sketching or anything like that? Just let me know. Let's see. Can I? There we go. I invited you in, but you don't have to accept.
Oh, hang on a minute. Whoa. There we go. Hey, Sandra, how's it going?
It's
You
going.
okay?
I love today. We have a beautiful sunny day, and I'm looking out here at you know through my window. I can see the tree line. The top of the trees. Not that they're
Yeah,
very massive trees or whatnot.
yeah.
Um,
I've had a really chill day today after yesterday. It was mad because I done that workshop yesterday and it was just crazy from 12 o'clock till 4 o'clock. So I'm just working on some new t-shirt
oh, that's
ideas at the minute.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm just working on a few ideas and stuff. So yeah, I'm just hello Essex 144. Yeah, so just today I had time to reflect about yesterday, um, and just really gather my thoughts
Uh-huh.
because I think sometimes when you do stuff like creative stuff, sometimes you forget to just take a step back
Right. Right.
after you've done whatever you're doing. And sometimes I don't do that. I go, oh, right, I'm going to do something else now. I'm going to do. So my brain's like constantly thinking of the next thing over and over again. And it's part as well of my autism,
Mm,
being autistic, that my brain's constantly going 10 to the dozen
right.
stuff. So I'm like, really, I'm very aware of it,
Hmm.
but sometimes I need to find that sort of balance
Hmm. What
between,
What do you use as
like,
balance?
yeah,
What do you
I don't know.
helps you?
Pardon, what did you just say then?
No,
Sorry.
no, I said, what do you find that helps you find that balance?
Ooh, going for walks,
Hmm.
just literally switching off. So usually, if the weather's really hot, I'll go down by the waterfront
Hmm.
and just listen to music, listen to the water, or listen to music
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
stuff. When I'm creating, I listen to really fast music.
Oh, okay.
So that gets my brain into like creative mode. But then I'll go for a walk and I won't. And sometimes I'll have music on, sometimes I won't. It depends on what mood I'm in. Um, and that. So I just today I've just took a little step back. I had a little relax today. I went for a walk
Yeah.
and that. So yeah, it's been really good. It's been really interesting. It was an interesting day yesterday, but by the time I got back on the live with Kev last night.
Mm-hmm.
I was fully awake then, so that was about 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
So I must have fell asleep again at like 3:30 because I was knackered. But in a way, really good.
Right.
So tired. Not like bad. So it was really good. Hello.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, how are you guys?
Oh, we're doing
I'm
we're,
good.
we're
How are you?
uh, uh, his his everything that was going on yesterday and Kev's live that we did yesterday and
I didn't see
oh,
it.
you didn't see it. I know he's um he sent it to me, but I couldn't save it. You know, it wasn't like we were collaborating, so it wasn't like I could, it would be in my thing so that I could send it to other people. But I'm quite sure that if you go on his
It's
page,
on his page, yeah. So what happened though? That's what you guys are talking about right now, you mean?
uh, well, yeah, I was asking Peter about how he detaches from his day, what he does. He goes to the waterfront if it's a really beautiful day, and he listens to the water.
Yeah.
It,
Oh, I got the par.
yeah,
Mm,
Every day
so,
you're able to. I love that. Like that is something that helps me too, but like I'm working on getting it to be regular. It's a lot more regular than it used to be though.
yeah, yeah,
for me, it's, believe it or not, it's reading, and it's reading out loud. That
Yeah.
brings me now. I mean, the fact that I can do it for others while I'm doing it for me
Yeah.
is like, it's like, wow, that's like icing on, you know,
yeah,
and then yeah, go outside. Now I don't care outside because when I'm outside, it's me trying to talk while I'm on the phone and actually listen to nature stuff. I'm not very. I don't know how to say that without it sounding negative, but that's one of the multitasking that I don't tap into. Is if I'm going to be outside, I'm going to be outside. That's why you guys don't see me outside posting, and everybody thinks I'm always inside. But
I think that's part of your like going to the like what word, sorry, I don't have words. Your way to like ground yourself, right? Like to make sure you don't have the phone outside and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
Sorry, I'm multitasking right now as we speak, and I'm cleaning my car while we talk.
oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, he's wearing a t-shirt.
It's funny
To
though
be
because
honest,
sorry.
Go
sorry.
ahead, Peter.
To be honest, I create a lot. So when my brain is like sort of slowing down, the only time it'll slow down is when I'm asleep.
Oh, yeah,
And as soon as I wake up, I'm like, that right? Okay, that idea. So I'm working on this one at the minute. So I'm working on like doing my own t-shirts and stuff. High court, court one of mine as well.
I work.
So I work. So I constantly don't have time to switch off. So when I do, I either go out of so what I'll do, I'll go out of Liverpool, so I'll go to a different city.
Right,
So, so like Manchester or somewhere that's about an hour on the train.
right.
So I'll do that and go and see a different city and that. Yeah. So it's constantly like dead busy and that. But detaching for me is pretty hard because my autistic brain takes over sometimes, and it's trying to detach from one thing.
Hmm.
I have
Now,
to do another thing.
brain has is that the autistic brain is different than the ego brain. The autistic brain is our normal, not brain. the autistic mind is your mind that's in every cell of your body, that's the creator, right? So
Yeah,
your autistic brain isn't broken, where most people think that we have people on the spectrum and that their brain is broken or disconnected. It's actually really more active than the egoic brain, right?
yeah. It's the actual opposite to broken.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we just, as an autistic person, I see things and I feel things a lot differently. So where, I'll use an example. So like if I break up with someone, I've been in a relationship for like a month or 2 months, where some people can just literally go, oh, that's ended, I can move on to the other one. An autistic person thinks what happens, and overthinks things. So sometimes
Mm-hmm.
an autistic person's feelings, uh, like a neurotypical person's feelings there, an autistic person's feelings is like up there.
So
Okay.
like more
So,
empathetic, like the empath.
yeah, yeah, and more intense as well. That was the word I was trying to think of. So they're very intense,
Very in,
and
very
Oh, okay, yeah.
very intense
oh,
and very empathic about. Is it very intense and very empathic about both of your feelings, right? Kind of
yeah,
to understand, well, what happened in the process break of the process. You're thinking about your end plus the other person's end.
My brain
Yeah.
is like
yeah,
that. I always am thinking like that. Always. Like, that's
Well, I
interesting.
yeah. It's
see where we label people autistic, it's just that they're empathic. Okay, if we
I think that.
yeah,
that they're empathic, and back then they didn't understand that that's what that was.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm thinking.
yeah. Oh, it's very interesting. It is really interesting because like I've been doing like a little bit of looking up on autism, and most of my friends are autistic, but all have different types. Where some autistic people don't like loud
Mhm.
noises. I'm the opposite. I don't like quiet. I can't be around. So being around a quiet space for me gets me nervous and anxious.
Mhm.
Where if I'm in a loud place, I'm like, yeah, right, this is,
Um,
I feel a lot more comfortable for some reason. And a lot of autistic people don't like loud noise. But I got diagnosed when I was 35. So I got diagnosed late on in life. So I didn't get
Mhm.
that. So the process was pretty, how can I put it? Ooh, hard, put it that way. Because I had to fight with my doctors to get my autistic diagnosis
Is that
and stuff.
is that because you thought something was wrong with you? That did, did you um, did you did you or someone else think that you were out of frame of what normal should be?
Me, it was me. It was all me. I always know. I noticed a lot of like intense feelings, and I didn't know what they were. So I was like, why am I feeling like this? I should be really feeling, oh yeah, whatever. No, like, and I just couldn't pinpoint it. And it was when I had a really bad mental health episode.
Mm.
I started looking at it and going, there's something not right. And when I went to my doctors, they said it was depression at first, and they were trying to give me antidepressants. So what I'd done, I'd take the prescription, but I would never get them.
mhm.
I just,
Right.
and then what I'd started doing is looking on the NHS website, which is our National Health Service in England.
Mhm.
So I started looking at like what bipolar was, because there's certain aspects of autism and bipolar that are the same. So I looked, I went, this is not depression. So I went back to doctors, argued with my doctor, and I got an assessment for they didn't know, it was just an assessment, and that's when they found out it was autism and not depression. So yeah, it's it's been an emotional roller coaster. Like,
And I'm sure in that 35 years without like, there was situations that happened throughout your life that, like it would have made it, if you understood what was happening, easier for you. And that just shows
yeah,
the
yeah,
failure of the mental health system. Like
yeah,
no one wants, there's not enough. There's not enough knowledge. There's not enough, resources
yeah,
or people understanding. You had to fight with your doctor. Like
yeah,
that I feel like things I go to this new doctor I have, like he doesn't hear me. So I feel what you're saying there. Like I
yeah.
just stopped
I
talking because it's not worth it for me. But like I can see him as one of those doctors that just, okay, well, look here, take this pill. Just go. Take this pill. Just
yeah.
go. And don't listen to the
Well,
doctor or the patient.
I don't listen to doctors, to be honest,
Me too.
unless I don't know what it is.
I can't.
Unless I don't know what it is, because
Well, it's all.
when I think, sorry,
I find it's always nice to. I'm not. I'm not a disadvocate of doctors.
mm,
I
Yeah.
am. Do not discount your doctor unless you know
yeah,
that your spiritual practice of your health is a pure thing, that you're strong in it. Okay.
yeah,
The reason why I say this is because there are people that their intention was to be a doctor and heal everybody. That structure of who people are hasn't deviated.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the healthcare system has, and maybe the pharmaceutical
yeah,
system.
I feel with that, like that doctor that did do it though is a doctor that's going to listen to the patient too, right? But then you have these doctors that don't want to listen, and I think that's what I'm referring to. Like, doesn't matter what I say to him, he's like, oh yeah, 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 and then goes on with
yeah,
what he's saying, right? Like, there's no, you can feel it. You can feel if they're actually listening and hearing what your concerns are,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
you know?
we talked about yesterday about active listening.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yep. There you go.
Can I ask you if it's okay? This live, I would like to save it and move it to my podcast on my Spotify website. If not website, but my Spotify podcast. I wanna. This information is really what I think people would be
I agree. I
right.
agree.
I would like.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I'm
my
totally okay with that.
if there's
I'm
something
sad.
that if there's information that you're about to give that you don't want to be public, Peter or Casey, could you refrain from saying it
Yeah, no, I'm good.
so that I this information because adults got it, children get um as very early on, you know, even though they don't get the right you know medicines or whatnot, they still get diagnosed, but there are adults that got totally skipped. And the fact that you
Yeah,
say, I know something's wrong with me, the fact that it said,
yeah,
I know that it's not depression, the fact that you could say, I need you to tell me what's wrong and stay with the doctor and ask these questions is something that people really need to know. And I really like
yeah.
to share that.
Well, I used to say I done a mental health podcast in Liverpool in one of the radio stations, and I was talking about this was before I went for my second diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about like it's actually quite scary that in Britain you can wait up to 3 years before you get an actual diagnosis in Britain.
Yeah, that's very
And
scary. It's like that here in Canada too, but we're like the
yeah,
same, Britain and Canada with the, I feel.
Yeah,
yeah.
say that you were still waiting, and this is the question to Casey. Didn't you say the last time we talked, and I think this was maybe, I don't know, it feels maybe 6 months ago. It could have been a little bit shorter time. You were waiting to see a doctor about something, and you said you were still waiting.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started like therapy at like cuz school always gives you therapy. So every time I'm in school, I take the hours and I get therapy, right? But then when it's done, you don't have a doctor unless you have money to pay for the doctor. So then that doctor though, with everything, like cuz this was when I was like really going through a lot of healing, even spiritually, and going through my spiritual like dark night and all that, I had therapy at the same time, so it was really good. Like I had everything. But anyway, at the end of it all, she said that I needed like for like uh trauma therapy is what it's called. So to
Uh-huh.
get I needed a
Yeah.
specialist for trauma therapy. So then I'm still on the list. I still haven't been called. I lived in Ajax year and a half ago, so it was in the summer. So this summer it'll be 2 years I've been on this list
Okay.
because I
Wow.
finished school in March. Yeah. So yeah, it's 2 years now I've been on this list. I'm gonna call
Wow.
again now that you said that. So thank you for reminding me. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's there and it's like that for anything to do with mental health. Like it is. Unless you have money. If you have money, then of course there's more resources. Or if there's like an emergency in that moment, you'll go see a doctor. But if it's like a threat of an emergency or something like that, or
Yeah.
just, oh, it could be an emergency, there's not, there's no
There's
urgency. Yeah.
urgent, and then you just on the list.
And
So here we're thinking, here we're thinking in America, we're thinking about how our system is all wacky wonka, right? And we're thinking, oh, we need to be, and most people think we need to be more like Canada, medical and blah blah blah. And there's still these minuscule threads that say you have to wait. If you don't have
yeah,
money, you have to wait. So it's not everybody is equal. Not that I'm trying to talk about
Yeah.
politics. I want to keep it.
yeah. And towns too, like it depends where you live, like different waiting lists. If you're in a big city, there's going to be way longer of a waiting list than a small town. But if it's too small of a town, then there's not going to be enough doctors. And that, like,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the reason
Well,
you're waiting is they told you you needed trauma therapy.
so
Now, does this assessment
that would
program?
be free. If this program will make it free for me. That's why I'm waiting, right? Because it's a free program, and because of the stuff I talked about with her, she was able to give like, so Canada has certain programs that you could get for free, right? So this would be one of them, but like I said, there's no urgency, so it's like a couple years to get
Right.
it.
yeah. Yeah.
So is that
See, that's
is that the trauma is based on, I don't want to know exactly what you talked about, but would that be something that got overlooked as a child that
Well, yeah,
you
that goes back to what I said about like, my passion is like understanding that kids who go through like private torture, domestic violence need to be put in, like there needs to be therapy, there needs to be access, because eventually, like even if that kid like me was the smiliest, happiest kid, no problem, whatever, inside me there is like, I experienced all this stuff. So like later in
yeah.
life, I was able to mask it all. Honestly, I did. I masked it, and then all of a sudden, everything started pouring in, and that was part of my healing journey. Because, like, for me, that was like my dark. I always go to say dark horse, dark night, the shadow stuff, right?
thing, Dark Night and Dark.
Every time I question it, because my brain goes to say dark horse, like,
I heard
but
Dark Horse as well, but I think it means something different than Dark Knight, but I
yeah,
use it in affiliation with it, so I'm not sure how they really meant it. So Peter, when when you were as a child, or no, let's put it as a young adult dealing. You had dealing with this as a young adult. How did it frame your life? You,
Well, ooh. Well, me and my dad, we used to fight all the time, and we'd fight, and it wouldn't be like this was when I was 15, so we'd fight a lot, me and my dad, and we didn't understand what it was, and it was pretty hard growing up because I went through bullying as well. So I never really had like people who were, and that's why I think I dealt with the bullying by not taking a day off school, going in every single day. And that was my like saying, you're not gonna knock me down, sort of thing. And I always knew I was different, but I didn't know what it was that was making me different. So it was I just had all these emotions at the age of 15, which was very hard to deal with. And then I think got me 20s was like, okay, I lived on my own, I still do. And living on my own was a bit of a daunting task when I first moved into my first flat.
mm-hmm.
Because I was like, wow, how do I do this? And then I realised, oh, okay, yeah, I can do it. So it was pretty hard growing up, knowing I was different. Then my 30s, that's where I started questioning a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, well, why is this different? Why am I different? Why is this emotion very highly sensitive for me? And then that's when I started looking at like all different other things as well. And it was me mate, a very good friend of mine who I'm still mates with, that said, you're autistic. He was autistic as well.
Oh,
And I went, oh, no, behave, I'm not. He went, you are? And I was like, no, I'm not. So then a couple of, I went, when I got the diagnosis, I went, how could you tell? He went, it was the way you were behaving and the way you were acting
mm-hmm.
was the exact same as me. I was like, wow. So it's
One,
like,
oh,
go on,
sorry,
sorry.
I was just thinking though when you said that, like you didn't get the diagnosis till you were in your 30s, and then like you were able to move out on your own, and it was hard, but you did it, and you were able to figure out all the ways that you could do it for yourself and inside you. So I wonder if that you would have gotten a diagnosis at a younger age if like you wouldn't have been, you know what I mean? Like because
Yeah. But I say to people, I'm made up. I got a diagnosis later because it made me deal with things
okay,
a
yeah,
hell of a
that's what I
lot.
was thinking.
It was a hell of a lot harder because I was 19 when I moved out into my own place. So I always question things and that anyway, because that's the way I am. I'm very inquisitive. If someone says, do it this way, I go, no. Or I go, why should I do it that way? I don't want to do it that way. They loved me in class, in the art class, because every time they'd be going to me, do it this way, I go, no, I'm not doing it that way.
Yeah.
I'd argue with the teachers, they hated me. They hated me. I was just like, nah, I'm not doing it that way.
Well,
But
I'm going to tell you that ever since I was, I don't know, probably maybe 5 or 6, I, my mother never called it to me challenging the adults, but that's what I did.
Me
I
too.
made them think. I made them comfortable with themselves. Um, uh, but that was mainly, it was mainly the spiritual realm, you know. But I was going to also not ask you the question, but it was kind of good that you got diagnosed later because you you crossed bridges on your own of
yeah,
challenge. You not only did you cross the bridge, but you made the bridge to
Matt.
cross with
Yeah.
if you kind of got diagnosed early, in the way they diagnosed you, they told you all the things that you cannot do, all the things that you may possibly be able to do. And do you feel that you were able to meet these challenges because you weren't diagnosed early?
Oh, that's a hard question, that, but I'll try and answer. Do you know what? Yeah, I believe that when I look back on certain things, because I do reflect a hell of a lot, and I was only thinking this last week, actually. Wow, I've come a long way since the diagnosis, but I always do question, what if I was younger and I got diagnosed younger, and I was like, oh, and then I started playing these scenarios in my head, going, wow, this is really interesting if that would have happened. Well, my sister, my little nephew who's 5, I picked up on it. Like, I picked up on things he was doing. And I said to my sister, he's autistic. She went, what do you mean? And she went, I can see the way he is, the way he likes certain things in a certain way. He was putting the car. She went, what? She went, Jimmy, watch this, and he was putting the cars in order. I went, he's autistic. You should get him, like. But he's 5 and he's brilliant. He's a little character. And but if I got diagnosed earlier, I don't think I would have been able to cope younger. And that's what the way I thought about it. But I wouldn't have been able to cope.
So it's kind of like, well, I just think, well, me, me, I think we're so, human beings are so into labels and separating ourselves and being separate, and that we do it, we start very young and we start very early. And I would have to say, for me, because I grew up, because I was born at the end of the 50s and grew up through the 60s and 70s, where they weren't labeling you yet with, ADHD and ADD and
Yeah.
on this, anywhere on the spectrum. Not because, well, that's because they didn't know what to call it. They didn't have,
Yeah.
and they didn't know that they were going to, didn't know that they could put these labels on you and keep you from doing things like other back then. But even then, there were, when we look at people, we call them, we say, oh, you're ADD, or you're on the spectrum, or you have Down syndrome. And the only way that you can tell that a person has Down syndrome, supposedly, by their facial structure and their facial, and but I don't think that's always the case. I think that
No, that isn't always the case. There's more to it.
Yes, so much more to it. But I think we're always basing all these individuals with these unique talents and skills and the way they're work, not necessarily that they're broken. We're basing it off of what we think unbroken people are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like when I tell people I'm autistic, they look at me and they stand back a bit and they go, really? You don't look autistic? And I go, so my response to this is, well, what do you want me to fucking do? Excuse my language. What do you want me to fucking do? Wave a flag?
Like, what do you mean? What does autistic look like? Like, I don't understand.
Exactly.
Okay, but
so that's why conversations like this are good, because then that gets more awareness of like things that people really need to work on saying and being more aware, right? So I love that this conversation's happening right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I say to them. And when I say that, I can see the look on the face. Oh, we shouldn't have asked them that. We shouldn't have said that. But I think we're still in the, like, people are saying it's getting better, but I feel personally it's not. getting better, because you get people with that, who say them type of comments, and you feel like, do I have to explain myself over and over again to people? What was it? I actually spoke to someone. We have a benefit system in Britain,
Mm.
and what I done, I spoke to some of the big bosses, and I was telling them how to work with autistic people, because they didn't know how to work with autistic people. So I'm finding being autistic empowering. I don't find it. I never call it I never call it a disability.
It is a power, and then that right there is where logos comes in, where, like with me, with the private torture becoming the new language for domestic violence, like people should start calling it a power, not like using like
Yeah,
a negative word. It's a power, you know. Uh, I love that. That should be the new terminology.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
but at
I
the same time,
think for everyone. Sorry.
no, at the same time that we call it a power, we do have to realize that especially when you talk about domestic violence or violence in the home that's unseen, that the the I'm trying to find the right word. The strength of recovery is the power, right? But the act that that initially put you there in your trigger moment
No, I was meaning him. Being autistic is a
is a
power.
power. Yes.
So naming it a power, and then I just like threw in my other thought
Oh,
at the same time because that's how my brain works. Sorry.
All right.
yes, it is a superpower. I mean, I have my grandkids. Once they figured out, um, I think my daughter-in-law actually took a breath when she found out what was going on. That breath. Because everybody says, okay, label it, and now and do the whole kind of thing. But it's not because my grandkids are broken. It's because they every
Because now you can have the skills, right? Like, so then there's skills to help, like, because every kid is different too, right? Like, and yeah.
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 I have one of my grandkids, my oldest granddaughter, not my oldest granddaughter, not my two oldest, but my more she's about, I think she just turned 4. And man, talk about a jungle gym climber. Talk about a climber. She can scale anything. And
Nice.
she can together what type of chair she needs to get, how I have watched her. I didn't stop her because I knew I was going to be there to protect her, catch her. And I just watched her. She took a bar stool, and she kind of climbed it, and a target in mind, right? I don't know what her target was in her mind, but she had a target, and then she took that chair and she literally put it back where she got it from. And she got another chair, and then she climbed from the couch to the chair to the drape, and literally she scaled till she reached whatever the top was, and then she came back down. And then
Yeah.
she turns around and she looks at me and she claps her hands. Yay, because she accomplished something.
Yeah.
Could she have done it? Could it have hurt her? Yes, it could. Are we trying to teach her that she can't do that while there are no adults present? Yes, we are, because there are dangers there. But that's how
Yeah.
that's how some of their minds work, right?
Yeah.
Um,
My nephew's the exact same.
yeah.
But he can name every dinosaur. He's like, he goes, that's a Uncle Pete, that's a and you're like, wow, he knows the names and he knows everything.
Mhm.
But what my sister done, she turned a pantry into a sensory room for him, for my nephew. So it was really good. When I went in there for a couple of minutes once, it was really just like nice and relaxing.
Mhm.
And I think what the need, there's still, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think needs to, we still need to have more awareness of autism, because there is, when like people are in the street looking at, look, when a kid has a meltdown, or a adult has a meltdown, they're looking at them like that. Well, what's that? They don't understand that part of the autism.
Mhm.
And it's like, I find that when I see people, I pick up on them being, I go, yeah, they're either autistic, or they have, like, I can pick up on it, I can sense it
Right,
sometimes.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Let's see. Beyond Sunset says, I got married, had kid. Oh, hold on a second. Um, I got married, had kids, and never knew until I had a nonverbal son. Thank you for sharing this with me. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this with me. You're so welcome. You know, for a while, my oldest grandson, um, my oldest grandson, he wasn't very verbal, and he was very focused, and he was very, now he was focused, and he could do games, and he could talk to other people on the games, right? But
Mhm.
when you were having a conversation with him, or even when you're walking into the room, and you come into the room or come to the door, and you say something to him, like hello or something, he might say a hello to you, but he doesn't turn up and look at you, right? He doesn't have direct eye contact, but he repeat everything you say when he wants to, when he,
Yeah,
yeah,
that, that's called hyper focus.
I,
So,
okay,
so basically, what that is we, as autistic people, we have special interests. What, so like mine's art, so I can be really focused on, like say for that one, for it, so doing that,
mhm,
I can be really focused on doing that, and then doing something like that as
no,
well.
okay,
So,
Oh, that's beautiful.
so uh, thank you. It's the Albert Dock in Liverpool, but we can be really focused on it, and we can, like, we could tell, like, you could ask a question to an autistic person about their, and if it's something to do with their special interest, then they can talk for hours about it. And autistic people are if they're very focused on
right,
things, you will find that anything around them's
mm-hmm,
non-existent.
okay,
So that it's because they've got that hyper focus
right,
and that.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I know my youngest grandkids, they are if you have a phone, they they don't identify that it's somebody else's phone. Oh, Casey, you left? Okay. Um, she maybe hit the wrong button. She'll come back. Um, they
yeah,
they don't identify that it's somebody else's phone. They'll just and they'll walk and just take it out of your hand and start. Hold on a second. They'll um, they'll walk, and
yeah.
it doesn't have anything to do with it being somebody else's. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Sorry. You were right. I hit the wrong button.
But with my granddaughters, it's just that way. If I have my phone in my hand, she'll just walk up and she'll just try to take it out.
Yeah,
Literally, she wants to get to the point where she can play whatever she wants to play, whether it's music or, and they're very focused. They know how to operate the phone. You know,
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
like the only thing that you don't want them to do is call a third world country, right? Because they can, but at the same time,
yeah,
they know how to get whatever game it is that they want, whatever they like. They have their cartoons that they look at, and they know it all,
yeah,
but they don't have that understanding of possession. I used to think it was just because they were kids. I think it's because they're very focused and it's like, I want this and I can get it on this phone. And it's not that it's Nana's phone, it's that it's a phone and it has what I can access.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. My nephew's like that, but my nephew likes like really unusual stuff. What was it? We were watching something with him. I can't remember what it was. It was something like he loved going to the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister bought a season pass for the safari park, and when he got home, he watched all the YouTube videos on on the safari park, and he went, Uncle Pete, that's where the lions are. We drove down there. It was like, wow. But it's very interesting, autism, in a way that, like they say, once you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, because everyone is so different.
Yeah, and I think that's where and this is where I think where we say autism people know autism people, but I believe it's the vibrate. They know the vibration of being that vibrational superpower, having that vibrational superpower. They know it, right? As opposed to people who are immersed in only, like, say, for example, only their own children's autism. They don't get to understand that there are other types of autism that is creative, like where
Yeah.
you say you like noise, and basically what we were groomed on from autism is that children with autism don't like noise. They don't like to be touched. They won't look at you in your eyes. They don't have conversations. They have better conversations when they color or when they draw or whatnot. All I learned that at first, where normal children grow into communication, and they have the communication of words. My grandkids, they were talking their own words, but they could talk to each other, but it would sound like babble to me, because they were missing
Yeah.
certain parts of the, where we grew up and we were taught noun, pronoun, whatever.
Yeah.
They could understand each other without the noun, or they could understand each
Yeah.
other with the pronoun, and not
Yeah.
pronoun, with just the verb. And they're out off having a conversation, and you're going, what the, I can say it because I'm a pirate. What the fuck? What are my grandkids saying? How am I missing some shit?
So funny. I've always been a person to understand baby talk, like all the time. I always could understand what the little kids are talking, like, because I have all my younger siblings. Because I'm the oldest of 7, I think that's why. And then it continued on babysitting, but that was always a thing that I never saw until you
Yeah.
just said that. I thought just like everyone understood.
Yeah, but now I know that I probably could have understand when I started. I actually, and I just noticed this when my youngest grandson passed away. I noticed because I got really intimate with my granddaughter, and she came and she grabbed my face, and she said, "What's that's what it sounded like."
Yeah.
But started um, actually having a vibrational alignment with my light language. I'm understanding it because it's not foreign to us. You can understand it because you've always had it in you, that light language, and you could always access it through your children, through babies. With me, when my children were growing up, I had I was raising my kids as a single parent in my mom's house, and my sisters and brothers were still graduating teenage.
Yeah.
So my children never got to talk dada, goo, baba, they never talked that. They always had noun and pronoun and everything. I literally, my youngest kid drove his teachers mad because he could read from the dictionary at 5 years old or 6 years old, right? And yeah, we think we think it's nice. I think it's great. My kids were they were what do you call it? I forget call it when they call it
Excelled.
Yeah, they excelled, and they went to higher schools and whatnot, you know, and but now actually when I actually sit down, and because my light language came, I could understand what she was saying when she put my hands on my face. I mean, literally, she just grabbed my face and she said, something, right?
Yeah.
It meant that she was saying it's going to be okay. But it's like, okay, now we can see where other people are diagnosing what is spiritual within them, you know, and calling autistic. Do you know what I mean? And then in the only problem that I have with that, it's okay that they don't know what else to call it, so they're going to give it something else, but they're giving medicine that might not be needed for that young mind. The medicine is to block all the superhero
powers,
right?
Yeah.
So
that's why I am so against like antidepressants and stuff. Now, this is just my personal view on it. If it works for people, it works for people, and that's great.
Yeah.
But for me, it was I didn't want to be controlled with. I wanted to naturally feel what depression is like.
Mm-hmm.
So I could understand it a lot more. And when I say to people, I've never took an antidepressant, they go, well, how did you cope with it? Well, I coped with doing the artwork or going for walks and just figuring out little things that can help me, like, and little things that, like, so I did, but it was actually everything once I got the diagnosis made a lot of sense to me, where I was thinking, well, why am I such a hothead? Why am I angry? Why am I? And it wasn't, it was because I was autistic and I didn't know how to articulate my feelings. If that's what I didn't know how to like go, well, I'm feeling this way. Now I'm the opposite. I can go, I'm not feeling good today. I don't feel that. I don't feel. And there's a lot of things that people say about autism, like we don't feel empathy, we don't have feelings and stuff like that, and it's the opposite.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel it's more your empathy. I didn't know that.
I've heard people say like
that they don't feel, but I think the opposite. I think if there is a too much of empathy, I think that's what they do, and then they have this shut off that says, oh, it's just way too much, and then all of a sudden they just kind of shut down. You know, they kind of have a reboot. It's natural. It doesn't need medicine. It needs for us to understand how it works in our child or our teenager, or even in our adults that we are having. You know, if you're having, it's not that I heard once that adults with autism could never have a relationship. How do you put that
never in it?
Never in. Because you're looking at them and going, well, they can't have empathy. How are they going to have a relationship? How do you know that they're not having empathy? How do you know that they didn't have so much of it that they had to shut down and reboot?
Yeah.
Where
that's interesting.
Labels are wrong. Yeah, Mr. Sinkner City says labels are wrong because once the labels come in, there's an expectation that label is what the society has said that label is, right? I don't like labels either.
this. Now, you're human beings, and most human beings have been taught to use their label as a reason, as an excuse why they number one, they can't do something, or number one, when they do something wrong, they don't have to ask forgiveness or anything from it. You get to say, well, here's my label. I'm sick, so this is just the way it is, right? That's what the label is for. And if you remember when I was reading about the egoic mind taps, and it will say, sorry, because you're ADHD, and now been labeled that way. Everybody else just has, has to understand that you're going to just lash out, and therefore you don't need to say, I apologize. Therefore, you don't need to take responsibility. Or if we tell somebody, oh, I've got triggers, and because you triggered me, I'm going to put up a boundary. And
my phone is going to die. I was going to call you Brenda. Sandra. Brenda's my other friend I told you about. But yeah, my phone's about to die, so I'm going to say goodbye now so it doesn't die on you. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me on.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Everybody say bye-bye to her. We love her. Yeah. So, so they've got, and they've got all these labels that kind of misdirect. And then all the people it gets mixed directed from, they don't get what they really need. Right?
Yeah.
And
I think it was harder for me being in school because my mum didn't want to put me in like a special educational needs school. She wanted me in a mainstream school. And I always used to think, well, I wonder if I did go to one of them schools, what it'd be like. Would I have got a better education? Would I be helped a bit more? So all these things, all these emotions and that running through your head.
Yeah.
And even
I
now,
called it ESL, ESL learning. And it was, it was just another label. You got to label the kids, and then the kids who had ESL learning, because either one or two, either they were slow, they were believed that they were slow, so they had to go into this class, or they didn't speak English. I think ESL was English as a second language, right? And then everybody in that particular category that didn't fit the bill of being smart, or being not smart, but being that they came over the margin of whatever their testing was, right? Let's see. Mr. Chronicity says, this runs deep in every daily situation in today's society, and open mind is better than a label for me, right? But you know what? We do have to, I'm just going to say this, that most human beings would rather be labeled, because that's their excuse for not trying hard at anything else. That's their excuse for not stepping outside of whatever the comfort zone of taking a chance for being better at something. Now we've got all these labels. So now, I mean, I hate to say it, but if you really look at everything that's going down in the news, and even on social media, I mean, let's put it this way: when Twitter first started, as I was observing it, I would observe on Twitter they were allowing people to be more bullies than allowing people to have an opinion. Have an opinion and be a bully and could get away with it, right? So for me, now you've got all these labels, and everybody can do, kind of fall into whatever their label is and say, oh, it's because I'm so and so. It's like, I'll give you a perfect example. When I finally had to I take medicine to get rid of the last of my estrogen, right? Or get rid of all of the estrogen in my body for a certain reason. Once I got rid of that estrogen, that made me highly likely to have mood swings, night sweats, you know, all of those things that that menopausal women go through. Well, mood swings. When I was going to, I would listen to all the people, all the women who were in mood swings, and they would just laugh that when they went through a mood swing, their husband or whoever was in their presence just got what they got. And they had to understand that it was because of this. Where I was the kind of person is, well, if you're aware that you're going to have a mood swing and you know when your body's in it, why don't you excuse yourself through your mood swing and not put anybody else, not involve anybody else in it, but you. You know, like when I work, when I would feel a mood swing coming on, it was I would excuse myself and I would go out for a break and hope that it would pass in the 15 or 20 minutes. But most women go, well, you know, they're going to get what they get because, you know, this is I'm menopausal and this is what happens and it is just what it is. Right. And then they don't have to make any apology for it because the label menopausal is what it is. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I was having this exact conversation with someone, and we were just talking because I do a voluntary work. Some people don't have the awareness. Yeah, you're right there, Queen.
Yeah,
Starseed.
but if they say what they said, they have the awareness. They have the for me when I was understanding the women that were, you know, actually talking and laughing about this situation and being in and making it a funny that they're in these situations. They have the night sweats and they know that they're sleeping next to their husband who is freaking you know, either cold because they have a night sweats or all of a sudden they heat up and they're putting the person that's next to them through all these situations that they're going through, knowing that that's not fair and laughing about it. They are very aware of it. They're unaware that they're aware of it, I think.
I think I was having this conversation the other day in the place where I do voluntary work, and we were talking about it, and we were saying like, well, sometimes people will use, because we have a lot of autistic people that use the service, and I said sometimes people will use the fact that they are autistic to sometimes be obnoxious and that's not a cop out. That's a cop out in my opinion.
Right.
If you're being a dickhead, you're being a dickhead and stuff. So I was like, wow, okay, because one of the girls is getting to understand autism a lot because she's around with young people who have autism. But I think having the label, it's good because so I say to people, when I got diagnosed, I saw my mates and I went, look, got something to tell you. And they went, what? I went, I'm autistic. I went, do me a favour though. They went, what? I went, do not treat me any differently that you already have. And they went, why? I went, because if you do, I will kick off. I went, treat me always the same as the way because I don't know if I've been obnoxious, I've been obnoxious.
Right.
Now, but when they know when they know I'm having a bit of an off day now, they'll leave me for a couple of hours and then I'll just snap out of it and I'll be like, oh, you're all right. Sorry about that. I was not in the best of moods before. But I'll apologise and I'll say I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean that. But I think sometimes having the label is good, but also we can use it as a excuse.
Yeah. The same. Mr. Synchronicity says, "No more excuses. We can all grow." Yeah, it's. I mean, it's what is that my mother used to say? It's 10 in one hand and a dozen in another. You know, because
Yeah.
So there are truly people who are on the spectrum that they're aware in a different way. They're truly aware in a different way that we aren't aware of. We haven't tuned into it. We haven't not well. Those that are moving on their spiritual path, yes, because we're tuned into that energy. But those of us that aren't aware that the labels hinder us, or not hinder it. Yes, the labels hinder us from growth,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we have been told to use those labels as our excuses why we get away with shit, right? And
Yeah.
here we go. We're not, those that are there are not aware that that story is coming from their egoic mind. It's just a download. They don't even know where the story is coming. 6 in one hand, yeah, half a dozen in another. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle used to say it all the time. Yeah, but I'm glad.
I mean, I
I'm
used to
glad.
say that one.
I'm glad you're there, Mr. Synchronicity. I'm so glad you're there. But this is, and it doesn't always. I mean, it can branch off to a lot of things. Not just autistic and ADHD and bipolar and schizophrenic and all of these. The fact that people, we look at the study of the mind, and they're basing the study off of the mind based on what they think is a healthy mind, right?
Yeah.
Based on what they perceive is a healthy mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of this information that they're basing it off has never changed. If we're talking about the egoic mind that has all this information, that all the decoding is fractured or frayed or disrupted, right? Then they're and psychologists and psychiatrists are looking at the egoic mind, which is what they're referencing it from, they're looking at an old perception of it, and they're basing else's thing of how the mind is really working, the actual, not the subsystem of the mind, but the actual mind that's in all of our is in all of our DNA. It's pulled from everything. It's actually seen in our 5 senses. So autistic children, Down syndrome children, ADHD children, or there's one ADHD, I think, moves, their brain moves fast, so they're always on the go. An ADD, where they move a little slower or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So all of these reference points that they have, they're basing it off of what they thought once upon a time was a healthy mind.
Well, I have this running gag with people. On a Wednesday, I'll go to a group, and it's autistic people. And what it is it's a service users like group. So we're all autistic, but what we're doing projects to help other autistics. So we're doing so someone could come up to us and go, could you have a look at this leaflet?
Hold on.
And make it.
He says, gotta run, sending love and spreading it like jam on the plane of existing.
Right.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
just save this live, so if there's more, you won't miss it, and it'll also be uploaded on my Spotify and my iTunes podcast as well. So I love.
I'll have to find that.
Yeah.
But it's when I, in a nutshell, what I could say is, I'm proud to be autistic, and and I always live that I want to make more people aware of being autistic, what it's like to be autistic, the struggles. Like, I don't act like your typical, or your typical autistic person. I act completely different because I like different. I like my mate goes, how can you do it? My mate, if we go out and we're in a busy street, he automatically goes, I don't like it. So my brain goes, let's go and find a quiet space for them. Where I'm the opposite, I don't mind busy, loud, crowded places. But it's I think in a nutshell, I'm proud to be autistic, and I like sharing being autistic because it gives people an insight of what it's actually like. And like I said before, we go to this service user group and we do like all different things and that. Um, but the people in there, you'll see all different types of autism, and we're all adults. But it is quite, I've loved being on the autistic journey, as I call it, because it's opened up my mind a hell of a lot in how people are, and I've started noticing like how people react to like when I say I'm autistic, and I laugh because I love the reaction that they give me, but also it's opened a lot of doors for me, like because I'm more aware of myself. The doors it's opened is I'm more aware of myself, and that. I know what my limits are, and I know what I'm capable of, and I think I'm capable of a hell of a lot more than I'm not capable of. So I keep, and also I like thinking differently.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. It's yeah.
And I think
It's
that's because you were never raised as autistic and told that you can only think one way.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
You kind of worked through. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just it was hard when I got the diagnosis. Me and my dad were talking, and some reason he apologised to me through all the, and I'm like, why are you apologising to me? It just doesn't make, and I was like, wow, it's just really, everything makes sense. It's like when a door, they're like the old, what's the saying? When one door closes, another one
Right.
opens. And
Yeah.
that's what
It's
it's
part
like.
of we're told as humanity that if there's a glitch in the matrix of family, it's someone's fault. You know, oh, well,
Yeah,
this had to come through. You know, we're told to go find it through mom's gene pool or dad's gene pool or whatnot. But but you and your dad have that talk because you're the same person that he's engaged with while you were growing up and all through your adulthood. And you know, he got to hear that, you know, hey, this isn't your fault, this just is what it is, until it's
yeah,
into something even better and even greater, you know.
yeah,
Your mind and the whole, I love the fact that you get to tell others your mind isn't broken,
yeah,
right? It with children who were with Down syndrome, it was like put them away. You know, they're not
yeah.
past a
What
certain
was it? Seen and not heard.
yeah.
That was it, wasn't it? I think I think we still have a little bit to go with autism. I personally believe. I think with people's attitudes with it sometimes can be a bit
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, well, it's like my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, when my little nephew has a meltdown, the look, he said to me, Peter, the looks I get, I went, you know what, mate, you'll get that.
Yeah.
And
But the thing is, we've always got that look. Every time we've taken kids out to the grocery store and the kid, you tell your kid no, the kid has a breakdown. So regardless of whether they're autistic or whether they're just,
yeah,
you know, the run of the mill regular kid having a meltdown, they always had that look. And it's usually from people who have raised kids, or from either people who haven't raised kids. And the look is, I'm judging you. And
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And judging you, and that's what I'm supposed to do. Why I'm judging you? Because that makes me feel better. It's not necessarily for the person that you're judging or the kid that you're judging.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I, you know, when it's, yeah, my grandkids, yeah, they have a meltdown. You tell them, you tell them no, they can't do something because it might hurt them. They're going to have a meltdown because the reason is they're in full throttle. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm creating right here. I'm scaling. For them, they're scaling Mount Everest when they're climbing up or on the from the chair to the table, or wherever they're climbing from. And yes, this constant, you know, you have to constantly watch them till they get of the age where they can start having a type of conversation that you have to know how to have that conversation. What do they like? It's like all three of my kids are not my kids, but my grandkids, they're into the phone. They're into going to they can go and find which video has their choo-choo train video. So while they're talking choo-choo trains, you can talk to them about what's safe or what's not, because they're focused in that. And that's their information. You can talk to them and say, oh, hey, how would Mr. So-and-so in your cartoon handle climbing up here? You know, and they'll have that conversation. But you have to begin to observe. You know, it's not just it's not just that your kid or your grandkid or your niece or your nephew or your best friend or whatnot is having you know, in the Down syndrome or in the ADHD or ADD or in the autism, you know, and then you're looking at them in it. It's how are you going to be interactive, not reactive, with them.
Yeah. I think what the way I am with my nephew, it's really, I think it's a beautiful relationship me and my nephew have got, because we're both autistic. And he'll go to me when he sees me, he's like, Uncle Pete, come and play here, do you want to play with this? And I'm like, that, yeah, okay. And it's just like, I think for him, having an older role model who was actually like him, it's I can't think of the way to describe it. It is like really nice to see him grow and develop. The teachers in the school love him because and he's got loads of mates and stuff. So he's really like, my sister said he's really going well with the school.
Oh, good.
And he does have moments, and that, but it's but as me says, it's
funny. All of us have moments. All of those who are not diagnosed autistic and who have been diagnosed as normal have our moments, have our breakdowns, and have what our excuses are for not making an apology for our moment or our breakdown, right? And then not to be able to go back to that one moment that you had this fierce, unrelenting breakdown, and not understand that in that realm of compassion for whether it's a child or an adult, with what we consider, what we named and gave the title of that to, right? And you know, so I'm gonna have to my tummy is talking to me, so I'll have.
So I think mine as well. But you know what? It's been really nice. This live has been really good, and it just really, I really enjoyed it. Something I've really spoke about autism in this length, really.
But it too, because it also gives me insight to, that I'm when I do interact with my grandkids, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
extending and wisdom, to them,
yeah.
and allowing them to just be them, So
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I'm gonna let you get something to eat then.
Okay.
Right. Nice talking to you,
Yeah,
Sandra.
yes.
And I hope everything's well.
Uh,
Right.
caseystarr.uk. Oh, that's an
Oh,
name.
right. That's a club. I'm doing some artwork for them.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So I'm working on stuff now. Right. Okay. I'm gonna
okay.
go. Thank you for the time. Nah.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you for being part of it.
Bye.
All right. So thank you very much for Soul Conversation with Sandra. I am so glad that you could tune in for this informational journey on being autistic, dealing with autism, dealing with any ADHD, ADD, all of these labels that we have. And we do have a long way to go, but we are learning more and more about it, and that it is not a disease. It's not a disease of the mind. It's more than it's creation itself. It's allowing the creation of the body, mind, and soul to create. That's what it's all about. And autism is just the way the mind creates from. So I thank you very, very much. Hi, Matt. Hi, Professor Sunshine. And well, I said it right the first time. Sunshine, but Sunflower. Thank you for joining me. I am going to save this live. It will be in my, I'm so tired and so hungry right now. It will be in my bio, but it will also be a part of my Soul Conversations with Sandra, the podcast. This was a very wonderful live, and I am going to include it as a podcast piece, because Peter gave some wonderful information on on uh, how he does with being on the spectrum. So thank you so much. And I'm going to wave at Professor Sunshine. I'm going to wave at Matt is conscious. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am going to close this session. 10845. I thank you for being part of this wonderful session. 10845, 10845. Thank you, thank you, thank you.